Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Thursday, April 18th, 2019. And guys, here's a new story on Zero Hedge. It's what I've been talking about. Actually, we talk about this in Truth, Money, and Freedom Discord and have been talking about this for a long, long time. Are central banks softening us up for higher inflation? It's a longish story, and you guys know my commentary tends to go on for a bit, but basically what they're saying is the 2%. Of course, once again, that's a lie, but let's go with the numbers the Fed provides us. The 2% inflation that we have per year, and the average of 2% we've had forever, is not enough. It's not enough now because we've borrowed too much money. We've printed too much money into the economy, and it's not enough to pay interest, basically to placate workers, and the cost of living raises. 2% is not enough. We've got to have higher inflation, right? Well, we knew this was coming, and this is coming, and they're starting to let us know it's coming. They are the central banks of the world. So this story kind of encapsulates what I've been talking about with inflation. Our 10%, and by the way, some of you have asked on previous videos that I do on inflation, basically what I'm basing my information on. So I brought in John Williams Shadow Stats, government statistics, to show the official inflation, which is red. That's what the Fed tells us inflation is. And the actual inflation, which is blue. It's the 1980 based CPI numbers, which include everything from groceries, gasoline, automotive, cars, education, medicine, or pharmaceuticals, in other words, medical. All these things are included in the blue. In the red, they've all been taken out. So the inflation numbers that the Fed gives are 100% fake, and they have been fake for a long time. You can even see the divergence. Started in the early 80s, and that's when they started stripping things out. And then when we got to 1990, the divergence even got greater. So John provides on his website even the 1990 CPI numbers, going off the 1990 numbers that the Federal Reserve provides. So I'm not going to make this a very long video, but this is important data. Basically, you have a Federal Reserve now saying that the 2% is not enough. Well, we're at 10%. Once again, I'll switch back to John. We're at 10%, or if you want to look at it this way, from 2001, we've averaged about 9%, maybe 9.5% average since 2001 inflation. So the Fed lies, the government lies, the Fed lies. John, recreates this data. And so we're at 9%. So what this article is actually saying is 9% inflation is not enough. It's got to go higher. So everyone who has not been paying attention and hasn't really noticed the cost of things going up, and those of us who actually buy a car, once in a decade or two, or buy groceries, go to the movies even. Shoot, even just going to the movies has gone up quite a bit in the last 10, 20 years. We all know the inflation's there, and it's much higher than 2%. But what they're actually saying, as I said just a moment ago, the 9% is not enough. They've got to bring it up. The inflation's going up. So there is going to be some sort of money printing going on sometime in the near future. And we're not sure what form that'll take, but it goes back to what Bernanke said about helicopter drops. It usually ends up in the form of free money to the banks, and the taxpayers get the bill. But the problem is, guys, once again, and I'll bring it up here real quick, the problem is we'll be increasing our debt. Here it is, U.S. debt clock. As we print more money, we increase the debt, which increases the interest on the debt. So, it's a never-ending loop-back, feedback problem. It's something that just never stops feeding in on itself. And that's what we're going into with the Federal Reserve and central banks around the world now admitting they're going to have to start printing more money because there's not enough money to pay the interest on the existing debt. There we go. I said it, and I said it in one breath. But that's what this video is about. Inflation is going to increase. Now, what form it's coming in, I'm not 100% sure. But they go into, in this article here, China is in trouble. Well, we know this. China's been in trouble for a while. But they even go into Japan. And Japan's economy is a very, very stagnant one. In fact, it's what we refer to as a zombie economy. And they've just been in a perpetual state of high inflation for about 2 decades, almost 3 decades now. Now, they're not in hyperinflation in Japan. If the dollar wasn't around to keep them strong, trust me, they would have gone the way of the dodo about 20 years ago. But the dollar has been there propping up the Japanese yen in many different ways, even on carry trade between the bonds. This is what this article is talking about, and it is a warning, just letting us know that it looks like the central banks are literally starting to talk about this now. And so central banks, plural, that's scary. That means the entire world is going to start going through this high inflation at the same time, possibly leading us to a hyperinflation. So what I've talked about in the past with the stock market being an illusion, when you see it going up and you see it going down, it's all just money being printed and shoved into these markets. We could talk about derivatives too. There's actually on Zero Hedge, there's a very good story on a brand new derivative product that the banks have come out with so people can actually bet on literally credit card debt. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen before, but that's what banks are for, basically is setting up systems that they can make more money off of people, off of these pretend worthless products. So the inflation is not arbitrary. The inflation is intentional. It has to be. And that's, like I said, when you borrow so much money that you cannot afford to pay it off, because of the interest accumulated with the debt, you have to print more debt. So you have money in the system to pay interest. But then again, this number jumps up again, and then your interest on that debt goes up. So, basically it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's something we've been expecting. Don't know about a time frame on this because the central banks are just quote-unquote talking about it right now. But I know it's coming. There is no way out of it in our current Keynesian economic cycle. So I just thought I'd let you guys know. I will link all 3 of these sites down below. Hey, and I encourage those of you who have never seen John Williams Shadow Stats, please give his site a peruse. He's got some great charts in there that help you understand things. I know that he does charge, to see all of the data on his site. That's how he pays for his work. That's what he does. And I would say there are worse things you could do with your money. If you are interested in this sort of thing, in the shadow stats, in other words, the real statistics versus the ones the government gives you, he is the man. There is no doubt about it. He is very good at this, and he has got a stellar reputation. So once again, John Williams at Shadow Stats, and I'll link this down below. You guys can go look. To get to the CPI data, it's really simple. And when you're on a site here, alternative data, and then go to inflation. And then that takes you to these charts right here where you can look at government reported inflation versus the shadow stats inflation, which puts gasoline and all the things I talked about right back into the CPI calculator, which the government has removed. So, because anyone who actually pays for stuff knows that the prices are going up faster than 2%. The government keeps saying it's 2%. Well, that's nominal confusion. If they tell you it's 2%, you believe it's 2% kind of deal. That's kind of what they're hoping for by lying to you like that. Okay, well, that's all I had for you on this video. I just wanted to bring your attention to this story, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless you all.